myself.
Okay,
Cool, we all set?
I do believe so.
Judy, is there a way that you can mute everybody, or do I have those permissions?
You are co-host, so you should be
Okay.
able to do that as well.
Okay, got it. Cool. Well, welcome everybody to our Penrose Neighborhood Association meeting, kicking off things this January 2022. So we're going to start off with a treasurer's report and membership update. And then we'll jump. We're delighted to be joined with Amy McWilliams, the Deputy Director of the Columbia Pike Partnership, with us this evening. And then we'll follow up with some community updates, and then we'll get out of here at 8. So our treasurer's report, total cash on hand as of today is, I hope that's the same number I read you, Pete, $3,846. And I think we should be about the same with dues paying members, 48 households. So we need to go through those and see how many are individual, how many are households. So we'll do that at some point shortly. So. Okay. Amy, you're unmuted. You're good?
I am.
You're good? Okay, cool. So tonight, as mentioned, we have Amy McWilliams. She is the Deputy Director of the Columbia Pike Partnership, doing tons of fantastic work for all of us on the Pike perpetually.
Alex, can I just ask, I don't know if anybody else has this, but I still have a message on my screen that this meeting is being recorded, so it's covering over the slides.
Okay.
Click got it.
Yeah, click got it and it'll go away. It's just asking for your consent first.
Got it. Thank you. Excellent. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Okay, so I put together a few introductory slides as mentioned. So you're welcome to reference these, and then we'll talk a little bit about your bio, and then we'll do the highlight reel from 2021, and then we'll jump into all the great stuff you have on the horizon for 22.
Awesome. Honestly, this is all on the website, but
sure. You don't have to reference it. You just want to talk just off the cuff about, and I can leave this up for reference so people can read as you speak. That'd be good.
That's awesome. Thanks, Alex. Yeah. So I mean, we've been around for a while. We just celebrated 35 years. For those of you who aren't familiar, way back in the early 80s, the county looked to different communities within the county to develop partnerships that would represent specific corridors and neighborhoods along the Pike, and within the county writ large. And so we were established from a number of different property owners and business owners and citizens as a nonprofit in 1986. We went through a very long, arduous planning process, which is the Columbia Pike Initiative, which really looked at what developed out of a 40s, 50s, 60s commuter route into what do people who live here and work here really actually want. Not just a drive through, but a neighborhood. The result of that was the form-based code, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with, but essentially it's a zoning code that has certain prescriptions for how a developer can come in and buy and build. And if they follow the form-based code, the advantage to them is they have a much shorter process and less cost, ostensibly. And we continue to find challenges and points of conflict and needs for revisiting, because it was a zoning code that was created, 20, 30 years ago, where it was looking at industries that don't exist anymore, industries that exist in a different way. So that's actually been developing, which Yahoo. But we continue to see more developers come in and be interested in being on the pike. And so, a lot of what we're looking at specifically through the pandemic is that so much of what makes Columbia Pike so Columbia Pike is that we have a huge diversity of business owners, of property owners, of startups, of these amazing women-owned, cultural diversity, ethnically diverse, and how do we keep what's cool about Columbia Pike cool? And I think that's the biggest challenge that we saw coming out of this pandemic is how do we really, really support our small, diverse businesses?
So Amy, do you want to tell us a bit? I'm curious, first, from a personal perspective, how did you personally get involved with back when they were called Columbia Pike Revitalization Organization? How did you get your start with them? What are your roots in Arlington?
Sure. So I actually started with the former CPRO in 2020, or I mean, 2000. And I came on board as an administrative person when Tim Lynch was brought in as an executive director. He and I crossed paths in the theater role. That's my primary background. I was a professional actor for 25 years. And then apparently had the foresight to know that there was going to be a pandemic, and being in the theater was the worst place to be. And I actually joined full-time in 2017. And to be honest with you guys, I was just like, put me in a corner, tell me to pay bills, I will plan events, I will do this. And a series of executive directors at CPRO, it's been one full-time person and me since 2000 until I want to say 2010, when Jim Whitaker came on and said, no, we actually need a little bit more money to be more than 1.5 times staff to serve an entire 3.5 mile corridor. And then we've had various executive directors who have said that we can't be a bid, right? We don't have a commercial property density to be a bid. But if you want us to act like a bid, we need some help. And we've gotten some support from the county, which is awesome. We also realize that our future is going to be in some kind of more sustainable funding plan. But the thing that the reason why I've been here so long is because I really believe in this community. There are so many small stories that we don't always hear. We only hear the people that kick around a lot, but we don't hear the small stories. And the small stories are the stories that make up the pike, to me. And those are the things that are compelling and heartening and need to be supported and need to be told. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of you that I needed to live close to DC. So, when I was starting my family, The place I could afford to buy was on Columbia Pike.
Mhm.
You know, I couldn't afford to buy in Alexandria. I couldn't afford to buy in North Arlington. I could afford to buy on Columbia Pike, and you've made this your home. And you guys have like invested a lifetime into this community. And all of these things are what make up the Pike for me. Are the people that have been like, yeah, you know, it was an $80,000 starter home when I bought it, right? And I've never left because I love it. And the people who put down roots here, put it down for real.
Mhm.
And the people who come back here, because this is where I grew up, and I want to go back there because it's still a really cool place to be. And I really want, it feels like my community, and it feels like a community, and that's where I want to like continue my life journey
Mhm.
for right now, whatever that is.
Oh, absolutely. I tell people all the time, and the only reason I can do this is that I'm at my family home. My parents, you know, we bought in 1999 on the Pike. We live over in West Hampton Views, like on the intersection of 9th and Wall Street. And like many, we were able to afford the area. We moved from DC to here as I was 3.5. We needed a bigger place, and we have found a great, you know, 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath condo right at West Hampton Views on the corner here near Towers Park. And we can never afford one today, that's for sure. They went from like 120,000, and our neighbors are selling them for 650. So,
Well, you know, the irony is when I started working for CPRO, I couldn't afford to buy on the Pike. That's how poor I was. But that's okay. It's like it's cool because like I got coming into this. It's like these are about people that have established these great roots here, and that's what creates community. Oh gosh, now I have to speak to highlights. Okay.
That's okay. Give me 1 second. I just got a text about the meeting passcode. Okay, I'm texting her, Christine.
It's totally cool. So I just to start off, we started off 2020 like everybody did, just kind of like throwing spaghetti on the wall and trying to figure out how to do stuff. And became very much less event oriented, which was kind of what our organization had been for a long time, and creating, you know, community space and placemaking into really trying to answer needs in the community. And so 2020 into 2021, we spent a year with our Buy Nurse Lunch program, which supported Pike restaurants with a lot of like amazing support from the community. And we also were basically asked by the county, like, there's farmers throwing away food and there's people that need what they have, and how do we do that? So we went to like 4 of our farmers market vendors and said, so you don't have places to sell your food anymore. We have people who need your food. You know, how do we make those 2 things work? And basically spent a high growing season supporting the communities at Gilliam Place and Harvey Hall with fresh fruit and veggie boxes from our farms. And again, like amazing outpouring of community support. Sometimes you just ask and stuff happens, and that was awesome. We flipped around a lot of stuff like everybody did. The last 2 years, our movies have been drive-in movies. And only probably because a decision hadn't been made about where the career center was going in terms of construction, reconstruction, anything. That just let us use that parking lot. The Blues Festival turned into a couple of different iterations.
Sorry, I got some pictures for you as I was texting Christine. The passcode. Okay.
Oh, no, Alex, just
I got these all in sequential order for you.
Yes, that's fine. We're just winging it.
You're talking about the Blues weekend. Yep.
Yeah, so the year before, we had to do basically just a audio WERA, just like AIM helped us like just do an afternoon of music. And then last year we were able to have some in-person stuff. The guys at the Manukian Rug Shop did some concerts. This year we're really hoping to be in person. We've taken a big leap and booked a headliner, and keep all of our fingers crossed we'll be able to be back on the street in June. But all these folks have just been really wonderful to just figure it out, to try to bring something back to the Pike. The most amazing thing to me about the Blues Festival, and this was like 3 years ago, Betty Levette was our headliner, and this is a lady who does not mince words, and she has been around more blocks than any of us will ever know. And she stood up on that stage and she said, "Oh my God, I want to bring all of you back to my living room. Look at all of these faces. I have never seen this many faces before." And I was like, yeah, that's it. The coolest thing about the Blues Fest is that you see everybody who lives on the Pike. Everybody comes.
Oh, yeah. My family and I, we've been going since I was a wee little kid. I remember Alfonso Lopez running for delegate like the first time, seeing his bumper stickers and stuff being passed out years and years ago. So,
Yeah.
and I'm so excited for, and fingers crossed we get back to the, typical strip on South Wall Street Drive, in between, Art Deco shops there, and then, down further the library. I was so fortunate to be able to capture, and just FYI, most of the photos in here, funny enough, I actually did the work for most of the stuff we're sharing. And so it was very convenient to just go through my gallery, put them together. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to self-promote, but
Absolutely.
But yeah, these were all taken at, as Amy mentioned, the Acela's parking lot, which will be gone, obviously, with the advent of the Elliott. Once they break ground on that later in the fall, that's going to go. But I think it turned out beautifully. It was a great community event, and everybody really enjoyed it. Even though, we made do with what we had, and it worked out great.
Yeah.
So the next one's July 8th, the ribbon cutting at the Black Heritage Museum, with them moving into the C-Pro location on the Pike.
Yeah, and it, to be honest with y'all, it just made sense. We realized we were not going to be back in person for a while, and we had this huge open retail space in the front, which actually ended up turning out to be, without any embellishment, a great gallery space. And they're still there. And unfortunately, just FYI, we all got to be out of there by May 31st. So we are all, as a community, trying to find new homes. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, we're glad to be able to welcome them in. It's a really cool space. If you have a chance to get over there before the end of May, please do.
Where is this located?
2611 Columbia Pike.
Oh, is that by like the H&R Block?
It is 2 doors down from H&R Block and 3 doors down from the CVS. So yeah.
Okay.
It's right there. They're open Thursday afternoons and Saturday like mornings-ish. But if you look up like Heritage Museum of Arlington, they've got their stuff listed. They have a really cool display of the artifacts that they couldn't display as well in their SunTrust bank. We have the advantage in the space of being really high ceilinged. So they're able to go up like 15 feet with display space and come on down. They also have all of the cards from the sit-in protest art project, which is also kind of really cool to look at. So yeah, we actually need to start socialing back out about them, because we want people to pay attention before they have to go find a new home.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to, at least for the association, as far as we're concerned, put together at least, 2 or more separate trips when it gets a little warmer and folks are feeling comfortable to go and check it out and spend the day. And we can, of course, plenty of places to eat on the Pike and spend the day at the museum and check it out. I love I still have, even though I did all the photos, it was there during the ribbon cutting. It was so jam packed in there. I still haven't had the time to sit and really curate each of the amazing exhibits, on the wall. And perhaps my favorite thing in there thus far that I've gotten a glance over was that diorama of what the area like Freeman's Village used to look like, which was phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool thing to look at if you have an opportunity to get over there. Absolutely. And Scott Taylor is your host.
Yeah, he's in the middle there with the scissors.
Happy to chat with you. Just like other stuff that we have going on, I'd actually like to, before we go forward, just to reiterate a couple things. We have a new Connect and Collaborate program on January 26th between 10 and 11. I will put a link in the chat to that. These are programs that we've been doing for the last year and a half plus, as a way for us to connect with our small business community. And we've hosted a whole bunch of different people, but really it's about letting our Columbia Pike community know that we're here and that we want to know what their issues are. The next one we've got coming up is basically about how to be a partner. Since we changed our name, part of it is about a lot of the work that we've done over the last year and a half has been about establishing connections between groups of people, between organizations, and what we want to do is bring everybody into that circle, so that you have an opportunity as a business owner to know that there are other people in your community you can go and talk to, because that's not always an easy thing to do when you're running a small business, is to like figure out, so I'm using this distributor. Have you had issues with them? Or I've been trying to get this permit, and how have you been successful? Or how have you had troubles, even if it's just to commiserate? We're also inviting our community advisory council to be part of that. And we've come up with these really awesome window stickers. I'm going to pull one apart. I know I shouldn't do this. For
I got
anybody.
mine. I ordered it. You can't see it because you have to peel it off.
I know. I'm just going to peel it back off.
What's going on my window?
So here's what it looks like. You can be a Columbia Pike partner. It doesn't cost you anything. All you got to do is say, I want to be a partner on Columbia Pike. And you put it in your window. And it lets you know, and your customers know, and your other fellow business owners know that there's a community here that's open to everybody, and we want you all to be there. And we want you to bring what you have to the table, whether it's a complaint, whether it's an issue, whether it's concern, whatever it is, And it's not exclusive to having the sticker on your window, because I spend a lot of time doing a certain level of negotiation between fellow business owners to say, she didn't mean to put her trash in your dumpster. I promise you, she just didn't know she should. So let's just be partners.
Yep.
But that's a session we've got coming up. The other thing I want to just make sure you guys have on your radar is the state of the pike.
Mm-hmm. I'll have some slides further in for that, so I'll pull that up while you're talking about the state of the pike.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I know. I'm sorry. I'm
you're
throwing
good.
you off of your schedule here, Alec.
No, you're fine.
So this is a product of a brainstorm between the Pike Presidents Group and the Columbia Pike Partnership, that regardless of who is the executive director of Columbia Pike Partnership or the president of the Pike Presidents Group, that we always have an opportunity to have, I want to say, an accountability session, to be honest with you, with all of the different county departments, to say, this isn't about, I want to throw mud on your window shield, or I, need to complain about this. I want to know where things are in your department as it relates to Columbia Pike. So I don't want to put you on the defensive. I don't want to, I want you to answer questions, absolutely. But to make it actually a living, breathing annual meeting where we ask the county to come and talk to the Pike community about what their work is on the Pike. Because too often they all live in a vacuum and in silos, and we all know that. And so let's get everybody in the same room to say, oh, this is what we're doing. And oh, this is what we're doing. And oh, this is what we're doing. So our first one, unfortunately, has to be virtual, but that's the nature of our world. It's February 10th from 3 to 4:30. Just an FYI, this has been a little bit of herding cats to get all of these 6 departments, and that's not even every department in the county at the table, but to just at least get 6 points of view in terms of what their work is, how they see it moving forward, what they anticipate, hopes, dreams, plans, schemes, so that as a community, we can know what each department is looking for, how we can ask questions, how we can support, object to, ask more questions, say, why aren't you guys talking to each other? And the hope is that this becomes set in stone. There will always be a state of the Pike as far as the county is concerned. They will always need to come and talk to us.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you give me, and this is my first meeting, but can you give me a couple examples of the types of departments that would be involved in this?
Yes, I have a complete list for you, actually.
A couple is good.
So we're going to talk to 6 departments on February 10th. We're going to talk to Arlington Economic Development, which also includes BizLaunch, which is their small business development arm. We're going to talk to the Department of Environmental Services, which is a huge umbrella that includes transportation, solid waste, transit, a number of departments, but so far we have very high level engagement there. So we're hoping that not only will you get an entire Department of Environmental Services, which is everything from how they're fixing up transit stations to your trash collection, but also what the transit plans are for Columbia Pike, because that's getting real important for us. So the next folks we have that we're going to talk to are the folks from the community development and housing development, community planning and housing development. We have the housing director who's under that umbrella. And actually the associate planner who's most directly involved with Columbia Pike. She's like the form-based code expert. She's the Columbia Pike expert. She knows the terrain, the geography, the businesses, the developers. And by bringing in the housing people, what that's going to give us an opportunity is to have questions about affordable housing, specifically around the Barcroft apartments and other areas that are really kind of hot topic for our corridor. We're going to chat with folks from Department of Parks and Recreation. They've had a huge challenge, and it's good for us to know like what are their challenges moving forward? What are their plans? We as a community, a lot of folks really rely on those programs, and they've been super challenged between being testing sites and vaccination sites and everything else, like how like opening up and then not opening up and then opening up and then not opening up. So we're going to look to them to give a real kind of dig down in the community-based amenities that are available. We're going to talk to Arlington Arts, which is basically the Cultural Affairs Division, about what their thoughts and plans are moving forward in terms of how they're engaging the community in the programming that they do. And then lastly, we're going to talk to State Arlington, which is essentially the visitors services programming for the county. So it's their tourist bureau.
Follow them on Instagram. They have a great Instagram. I always tag them. So I got one of my county fair pictures from a while ago from the top of like what is it? The wheel. Flanking on
Ferris wheel.
The Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
And they post that. So I was like, yay, yeah. They have really cool stuff on there.
So I mean, essentially, Heather, we're trying to hit on the departments that we think have the most work going on the Pike and the most influence in our corridor and in South Arlington kind of writ large. They're all going to get 5 minutes to basically say, this is what we're looking at going forward. This is what we've been working on. This is what we're looking at. Anybody who has a question can pose a question in the chat. We're going to do some breakout rooms so that you can take like if you're most interested in what the housing people have to say, you can go to the housing breakout room and talk to them and ask them questions. But if transportation is something you're more interested in, you can go to them. It's really just a way for us as a community to say, we want to know what you're doing on our behalf. And that's why we want this to always be a thing. We want it to always exist, regardless of who's running any civic association, any organization, that this is on the county's calendar on an annual basis, whether it's virtual or in person, it's always going to be there. So that's our hope.
I think it's fantastic, and I'm not just saying that Civic Association president was skin in the game, but no, I'm really looking forward to the 6 different breakout rooms, and I'm going to be, I'll certainly be there. So folks have questions, we'll figure out how we're going to divvy everything up, but I'll certainly be there.
Awesome.
You had mentioned the Barcroft apartment, so I wanted to just go through. I know that, just a little bit about that was probably, in my estimation and others, maybe objectively, the biggest affordable housing victory we've had in quite some time.
I will tell you so there's a single family that owns that 60-acre property, as well as the Goodwill lot and the Penske 7-Eleven lot, and they've owned it forever. And they actually just really didn't want to have anything to do with the community. You know what? They paid their mortgages off a long time ago. They could just kind of sit there and pay their property taxes and collect rents and probably do the minimum upkeep on the facilities that they had there. And I mean, to be honest with you, like everybody's biggest fear was that the Delashmans put this property on the market in October, like out of the blue. And the biggest fear that a lot of us had was that, geez Louise, 60 acres. I mean, granted, it's under a neighborhood form-based code, so there are certain limitations and certain affordable housing requirements, but the number of affordable housing units on that are market rate affordable, you would
Does,
never be able to replace them.
Does Arlington County have a percentage of like NPDU or low income housing that each building has to have?
It depends on the zoning area that you're in, Heather. It's and you can sell density for affordable house to get out of affordable housing responsibility. So the neighborhood affordable housing and the commercial affordable housing under the form-based code are kind of two different birds, but honestly, I don't know how you would find an investor in an affordable housing situation to buy 60 acres and keep as much market rate affordable as this property is. I don't think they could make it work financially.
Yeah, I work for a developer and pretty sure they would tear that junk down and make it really fancy,
Yeah.
really expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's $800,000.
Excuse me. Can you please say what you're talking about? I have absolutely no idea what we're talking about here.
Oh,
What
sure.
happened and what did you accomplish and what was the issue?
Sure. So are you familiar with the Barcroft apartment complex?
Yes, I know that.
It's a very large
Right.
parcel, right? And the original owners, the Chuck DeLashman family, who's owned it for years and years and years, generations, put it up for sale, market rate. They put it up for like highest bidder, whoever wants to come in, 60 acres, garden style apartments, which is what exists there now. And they're similar to the Fillmore Garden apartments in terms of their style.
Yeah.
And their affordability.
Yeah.
So when that ownership said, we're done, we're just going to sell, honestly, you were looking at losing over 1,300 of market rate affordable. So it's not affordable housing. You don't have to apply for it. It's just what the market will bear given the condition of the property and the location and the lack of amenities, essentially, right? So it's a lower end but affordable rental housing space that wasn't in any kind of government program.
Right. So what did you do?
So, I mean, we didn't do anything, but just actually be really fortunate that the county and a buyer came in and said, we want to keep this market rate affordable.
Did you advocate for that though? I mean, it sounds like you must have done something.
Oh, we absolutely did.
Right. I'm trying to understand. So that sounds like you should be getting credit for something very cool.
You know,
I just don't know what it is.
It is really cool, but to be honest with you, Chris, it was just the magic of the moment. That's what happened, that they actually happened to have a developer who's been doing a lot of market rate affordable support in their purchasing of properties. The county realizing that a really fast moving step-in needed to happen so that that lot of land didn't go out to somebody building $1 million townhouses.
Mm-hmm. Is it considered, even though you don't have to apply, is it counted as part of the number of units of affordable housing for our area?
Actually, Alex and Heather might have better knowledge of that than I do. I don't know how it's differentiated between market rate affordable and actually defined affordable.
That could be an interesting, I mean, perhaps I'm the only one who's interested in that, but
I could definitely do some
to know
follow-up
the
with you on
difference
that,
for
Chris. I have to look it up
another
myself.
meeting.
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about it, and that is because of the county's focus on the missing middle.
Okay.
Happened about 3 years ago. They went through and identified what they call the market rate affordable housing in the county. So the county is very well aware of where those properties are and what their function is in the county. So does that answer your question?
I'm not sure. So that means they're not actually counted. They're counted as middle market, not affordable.
They're counted as something called market rate affordable housing, meaning that they're not in any kind of program of the county or federal, but they are marketed, the leases fall within a limit of a range that they consider market rate affordable.
Perfect. That's what I was trying to understand. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Right, and just to be clear, like, you wouldn't have to apply to, like, for a special program to live in these apartments. They're just less expensive than a lot of the other places.
That's correct.
Right. But I think, I mean, it sounds like some people really came to bear. I know you want to say that all the stars aligned, but I think it really wasn't that easy. I think some attention was brought to bear on it by the Columbia Pike Partnership and perhaps others that helped the sellers to see the light, if you know what I'm saying. And I think that's a really important piece of work.
To be honest with you, I'm just grateful that it happened.
Yeah, I don't think that, in Virginia, it's by rights. You can do whatever you want with your property.
Yeah.
So who knows what went on behind the scenes when
Right.
this was going down. It's fortuitous that they sought out the county to get a little support for the purchase so that they could keep the market rate affordable housing there.
Right.
And to the board's credit, I had watched them speaking about this on the recent Pike President's meeting, and they pounced on it. They jumped on it. So, for whatever folks' criticisms that they have them whenever they have them, I think this was definitely applaudable by the board as a whole. Sure,
I agree, and I think a lot of what the emphasis is of all of these associations and the Columbia Pike Partnership, et cetera, is sort of our soft power. So we don't have the regulatory, like Pete would know all that, but we don't have that power, but we do have a lot of soft power that we yield on lots of issues. And this was a really important one, I think, on those apartments.
I have one last little question, and then we can move on. When people are upset and they are writing that in the comments and everything that we need more affordable housing, are they talking about market rate apartments, or are they talking about like apartments that are within a government program? Or is it like a mix, or no one knows what they're thinking?
I think, to be honest with you, there's a real disconnect between using the umbrella of the word affordable housing and understanding the difference between government supported affordable housing and market rate affordable housing.
Right.
And those are really different approaches. There's a whole industry that's happening around affordable housing that's government supported, and that's local and federal and state monies and grant programs and big foundations and churches and take your pick, and what would be considered market rate affordable. And I think that what I see is that there's a recognition that the market rate affordable is actually something that needs more attention. and
I would
care.
agree, because there's a lot of people, like myself included, who would not be able to be approved for affordable housing, but kind of need affordable housing.
Right, right. So if you're at an income level that you don't qualify, you make too much money, but you don't make enough to actually live in Arlington. So that's where this kind of new glimmer is coming in about what's, and there's a lot of people who argue that the term missing middle is not a great phraseology, but it does explain about folks who are not in, under a certain poverty level. And yet, if you look around the neighborhoods in Arlington County, you can literally go from one census tract to another, and it's a $30,000 average income to a $140,000 average income, literally crossing one census line.
Yeah.
So what that begs is a bigger discussion, actually, to me, Heather, is about like, so we you talk about wanting to make sure that, especially on the Pike, the people that live here that we want to make sure can still afford to live here aren't chased out, right? Barcroft Apartments is a big part of that, to be honest with you, because they've made a commitment to maintain a level of cost that would keep them on market rate affordable, which is a lot different than if somebody just came in and built a whole bunch of fancy condos.
Was that helpful, Heather?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
I can actually take that knowledge back to work. So thank you.
Very cool. So I just want to go breeze through a few more of the really cool events we had this past 2021. One of my favorites, which was Falls of the Pike.
That looks so fun, but my dog is a jerk.
Oh, I didn't even think about bringing Lola to this. Forget it. Heather and I go to the same dog park.
Super cute, and I love her to death. But
Well, I
she
understand
loves
my dog's
me,
the
but I
same
don't
way.
think she loves anybody else.
She not social.
So Amy, how did the Falls of the Pike event come about? And what was the genesis?
You know what? To be honest with you, we copied Shirlington's dog events.
Okay, hey, good enough. Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well,
Go
you
ahead.
know, I mean, we couldn't do all the bells and whistles that they do because they have a whole boulevard and la la la. But no, we just wanted to, recognize the fact that there's this amazing like animal community on the Pike, and when the center opened, it's such a perfect kind of spot because you're not kind of crammed into an aisle where your dog could freak out walking next to another dog. It was a little bit more spread out, and it felt a little better, and I don't know. You can't go wrong with dogs in Arlington. You just
So yeah, we're so blessed with so many great dog parks, well maintained, up to date dog parks. I mean, we have two in my vicinity, so
We may test it
Powers
next
is right
year
by
and see
my
how it
house.
goes.
So this building behind everybody is Centro. This is the new multi-use
Okay.
complex at 950. Was it South George Mason Drive?
Yeah,
That's
that's
correct.
where
It's got anchored by a Harris Teeter in there.
Yeah.
But it's a nice new complex. So it looks great. That's where the Food Star used to be. And I remember the old like billiard hall there and all the stuff like 10, 15 years ago.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There was lots of excitement there back in the day. Look at all these great pictures Alex took.
Oh, I had a blast. So this was the next one here. We have just like a couple more. This is a big shindig for the 35th CPRO, now CPP anniversary on the 14th of October.
So,
and this was right at Penrose Square here in our neck of the woods. So this is fantastic.
yeah. Interestingly enough, that section of 9th Street is not county property. So we got permission from B.M. Smith, which was lovely. And what we really wanted to do was continue to focus on the international flavor and vibe of the Pike. So we had 6 of our restaurants who we got food in from. We had the Nomad dancers who are actually based out of Arlington come and perform and just celebrate and continue to celebrate what's here.
So what street did you say is not part of the county?
It's actually amazing. So there's that little funky stretch of road on the upper side of the Penrose Square. It leads into the garage and then out to Barton Street, which goes past the Starbucks, or you can go into the garage for the giant.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where I live.
It is actually not county property.
That is interesting.
It is called 9th Street South, but it is not county property. It is the property of Penrose Square.
Huh.
Yep.
I learned something new.
We didn't know either until we applied for a right-of-way permit, and they're like, you don't need it, not ours.
So, Amy, before we close out with everything,
Yes.
I really appreciate having you on.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit more about the genesis for the renaming for Columbia Pike Partnership, and now what made now the time after approximately 35 years of service to the Pike under the C-Pro banner.
The God's honest truth is it's been bubbling for a while, and the word revitalization, I think in 1986 was a really forward-looking word, and it became to feel more and more like it was holding things back for us as an organization. It didn't seem to match the work we were doing at all. There's been so much that's happened, especially over the last 2.5, 3 years, that has really been about making connections with other organizations, with people, with neighborhoods, with groups, with businesses. That's not about revitalize, which kind of feels like the shoulder pads on a suit, as opposed to partnership, which is about forward thinking, and recognizing that there's still so much work to be done, but to say that we don't have to sit in the silo, and we can't sit in a silo, and we shouldn't sit in a silo, and we want to continue to connect.
Is there anything we can do to get some of these businesses or some of this real estate like full? Like PB Brennan's have been closed since I moved here, and I moved here in 2016. It closed like right after I moved, and it's been like empty forever. Like maybe split it in half. Like what? Like, is there a plan? And then the gym, the export gym just closed. And I saw it for sale, but I don't know if they sold it or if anything cool is going to go there.
Yeah. They're officially moving. And my brother used to work there, so they're going to be moving into their what other location they have here in Alexandria, maybe on King Street, I forget, but yeah, they're going to be gone. Yeah.
Well, I ain't trying to go to the gym. I'm trying to go to something good downstairs.
So what's going to go there?
Don't worry.
I know. I'm just asking if there's like a push for like buyers and sellers and try to get some people over here.
What's really curious about both of those spaces is they're so large. The P. Brennan space, I don't think ever would have been sustainable, and they closed well before the pandemic. And I think it was just a bad business model. But the problem was that is already an open air 2-story restaurant space. It's got a beautiful restaurant kitchen in the back, full commercial kitchen, absolutely gorgeous. But the question is, who's going to take on that amount of square footage?
Yeah. So
Right?
long story short, another restaurant would have to go there.
I don't think necessarily. I
Or,
honestly
I mean, they
think
could break
that
it
would
in
be an,
half.
it would be an amazing entertainment space. I think it would be an amazing black box theater. I think it would be an amazing live music space.
There's a lot of closings, like the little shoe guy closed, the salsa place closed.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of like empty areas here, and I get like rent is high. My poor eyeglass guy got hit up
Yeah,
again.
I have some slides. We'll be talking about that as well.
Just a couple of things. First of all, I can say the salsa guy had moved out like 4 years ago.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. He was well before COVID. He found a new space in Tyson's that actually pulled better clientele for him. And so he put all his dollars in there.
Oh, okay.
And you know, that makes sense. But the challenge is always going to be any big space. What do you put in a big space? What do you put in an export gem? What do you put in a P. Brennan's?
Yeah,
And I
export
I
is
think it's
huge.
a bigger question than that. I agree with Heather. I mean, it's big space or small space. The whole model is retail on the first floor and living on the top. And all I'm seeing is empty retail, empty retail, empty retail.
Yeah.
There's, and if it's not empty already, for example, there's a Chinese hot pot place here that opened on Adams Street at 9th. There's nobody there.
Oh my God, are you kidding? That place is jumping like every night.
It's super crowded. I always hear people from my balcony, which is nice. Like it's a good noise.
I need to check it
And
out.
what I don't
Yeah.
like is them parking in the alley. I'm not a fan of that.
Right.
But that place, well, also I heard it was expensive. I have not been there, but every
Very
time I walk
expensive.
by,
Very
there's
expensive.
always people there.
Very expensive.
Oh, really?
but very good. Yeah.
it's super cute inside. I haven't eaten there yet, but it looks super cute.
What's the name of
I'm
the
not
place?
sharing food until it's over. Like I don't want to share food with anybody until the cooties are gone.
Well, that's
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
My bigger concern is with actually some of the smaller places. I mean, as you've identified, one of the cool things about the neighborhood is all the little, very diverse little businesses, restaurants and retail and so forth in a lot of the small spaces. As far as I can tell, it's all going to be developer driven, and these small spaces are simply not going to exist. They're being taken over by big new apartment buildings and so forth that won't have those kinds of spaces and won't have those kinds of businesses, and the result is going to be a very different character, at least a very different physical character and variety to the neighborhood. Although, and I should mention, one of the things I do like in terms of all the diversity, and speaking of dogs, it seems like in most of Northern Virginia, they at some point passed a law that if you can have a dog, it has to be a golden retriever. But in this neighborhood, there's very considerable canine diversity, which I really. But I worry about the neighborhood sort of losing its character and becoming something very different. And I just wondered, Amy. You obviously have lots of insight into this. Do you see it going in that direction?
I think there are always going to be challenges in this area as we see people come in who decide that they have money. I will also tell you that there are limitations depending on the site of whether it's even financially feasible for somebody to redevelop something. So in a lot of ways, that's what's going to save a lot of our small businesses. If a developer can't get the depth on a lot, if they can't get the height on a lot, it makes no sense for them to throw a whole lot of money into a 3-story apartment building, right? It's not going to work.
It's interesting. So my company has a lot of multi-use buildings, which is usually retail on the bottom and residences on the top. And from what I've seen, it has been very difficult to get like businesses in the bottom. Like there has been a lot of like empty space and people are like, we need something in here. Like we have one building that has a CVS, but I think the CVS was probably already there before we built on top of it. But there's a lot of stuff. And I'm wondering if, because these apartments are like super duper nice, that rent is like a lot of money. And I'm thinking maybe like those small businesses can't afford it, which is a
So,
bummer because I want to support the small business.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess struggles are real. I don't
Well,
know
Amy, can I
how else to
ask a
say it.
question related to that? My
Sure.
understanding was that when they get approval for these buildings, based on like the form-based code and the county rules, they put in these commercial first floor retail bays. And it's almost, my impression is they almost don't care if they ever get rented. It's maybe something to do with the financing and the zoning. And it's just sort of built into the equation because you would imagine that if you or I owned that, we'd almost take any rent versus empty for 5 years. And so it just feels like it's just baked into the plan that they're going to have empty bays, especially on these back streets, like where that hot pot restaurant is. And it's almost like I don't think they care. Is that, and then we talked about that hot pot's expensive, but yet they have to pay the high rent in this business area, and there's not the lunch crowds like you have in Ballston's to support these, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
It's such a catch-22 because I feel like if you have a good on-site retail combo, you would have another amenity to sell renters, right? But I'm not a small business. I work for the man. But I wonder also if there is some sort of, and I'm sure there is, but some sort of like little maybe Columbia Pike guide on advertising or social media or like free things that they could use to get their name out. And so people know, because I really don't want the sushi place to close. Like that place is jinxed as it is. But I don't want them to close. But if there was like a program where they could go and like learn, the basics of social media and how to like keep it going and get involved with the community, maybe we could get more people out here.
I'll tell you, so there's a couple of different points here. I'll work backwards. Heather, there actually is great tools available to small businesses in Arlington through BizLaunch, where they have a program called Relaunch, where you can literally go to them and say, I don't know how to make a website.
Mm-hmm.
And they will actually hook you up.
But do people go?
That's the trick. This is the trick. And the trick is that when you're a small business owner, A, you don't have time. B, you don't trust government. And C, you probably have, for many of them, especially along the pike, there are language issues. So if I don't have my daughter with me to help talk to you about my permit, I don't know what you're saying to me. If I don't have, so there are those, that's that pile of issues. Another pile of issues, which are really, I don't think specific to the pike at all, but a challenge anywhere where you have small family run businesses, is that they are spending so much time just trying to keep afloat that,
it's such a catch-22.
If I have a grandson who does TikTok, huzzah. Otherwise, how the hell am I going to do that? You know what I mean? They're always pushing the boulder uphill. And the spaces that you see, it's not like every single block on Columbia Pike is set up for success for a developer. Financially, they just can't make the numbers work. You can't right now look at what the old ski chalet used to be right next to the Walgreens, and part of that is owned by the McVeys, and then part of that is owned by somebody else, and then where the Domino's is owned by the McVeys. Like if you do the whole strip and push back, maybe as a developer, you can make that work. But as it exists now, in the ownership triangle that it is, you'd never be able to make that work. I couldn't, as a developer, go in and plop a 6-story building down at the corner of Edgewood and Columbia Pike and make it work. I don't have the depth and I can't get the density. So that's why I'm saying that there's certain parts of this fact that we have legacy business owners that they're happy to just pay their property taxes and collect their rents, that actually provides a level of protection for the smaller business owners. The other part of it is that I think we're going to see a big flip post-pandemic into what new retail needs to be. And given the changes that were made to the allowable ground floor retail, which applies not only to form-based code buildings, but to legacy buildings, you can put a brewery in P. Brennan's at this point.
Oh, that would be nice.
Right? I mean,
I would walk down there for that.
You can put a ghost kitchen in
We could
there.
have all our meetings over there.
You know, I was thinking that too, like one of those like tester kitchens where there's like lots
Yeah.
of different restaurants and they have like sort of like food truck type deals inside.
Yeah, you can do that now on Columbia Pike. So we got to wait to see if the rest of the world goes, ooh, what we've had a lot of interest from, which you'll be curious about, is doggy daycare on ground floor retail and breweries. They're looking at Columbia Pike.
Well, they have the one lady by like next to the salsa room, and she has daycare there, but I think it's just her. Like I tried to go and get Lola's nails cut, and she's like, I can't get you until like 2 weeks from now. And so I'm wondering if like the small businesses are just like mad small.
Some of them are, but
that's part of the issue.
There's also franchises that are looking and they're trying to figure out how to make it work. So I think we see some interesting movement. I have like taken up way too much of your time, y'all.
Oh, no, you guys. Anybody else have, before we go through our flow through these community updates, anybody have any last questions for Amy? I know there was one from Paul about what's going on close to the Air Force Memorial in terms of development. I actually am meeting with Insight Property Group on Thursday to go over some of their form-based code stuff for that stretch in Foxcroft Heights, which I need to read up on.
I can tell you that I met with my transportation person today, and they are still waiting on the feds to say what the heck is going on with the schedule near the Air Force Memorial. So hopefully by our State of the Pike, we'll have an update.
So TBD on that.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't have more.
Anybody else have anything that I might have missed in the chat for Amy? Okay, well, thank you so much, Amy. Greatly appreciate you joining us and for all your fantastic insight.
Thanks, y'all. Just please, any questions, please reach out. amcwilliams@columbiapike.org.
It was nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much, Amy. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We'll see you. Okay, so we're gonna go through these and let everybody get back to their dinner, whatever plans you got. So let me make sure Chris is still with us. Is she here? Yep, excellent. So an update on some of the community stewardship going on here. So I'm still waiting to hear back from Ben Aiken. I sent him another email. We'll be sending him another email tonight. This is in regards to the dumpster overflow at Fillmore Gardens. Several months ago, they were issued, I think around November, December, they were issued a 30-day summons by our local Department of Soil and Water to fully replace those dumpsters so that A, they're not rotting from the bottom and letting like trash and other items spill out, and to clear the rodent infestation. So I've heard good news on the rodent infestation front, but we've yet to see a full replacement of those two dumpsters. So I don't know whether it's a parts shortage or supply chain issues affecting them getting the dumpsters. Either way, we're gonna get those cleared up. So hopefully Ben has something for me this week. I've already given him some leeway on some other things, saying, oh, I'll get back to you next week. So it's already next week, so we'll get things rolling on that. Interesting developments on the carts at Penrose Square Giant. So I'm sure, how many of you have seen shopping carts strewn all throughout your neighborhood? Yeah. Everybody on here? Yeah. So I used to actually work at that Penrose Square Giant, and I used to be somebody who did the parcel pickup. So I used to go around the neighborhood and collect those cards. This was back 2014. Obviously, I haven't worked there in, 6 plus, 7 years or so. And it certainly devolved and devolved and devolved. And they haven't properly maintained these cards. They haven't kept them secure. And we've just been dealing with an onslaught of folks from the neighborhood and from probably not in the neighborhood, stealing these carts at their whim and them just being dumped wherever is convenient for them. So, much less being stockpiled in the Fillmore Gardens apartment complex, where we have sent in pictures of like 70 or so carts just sitting there uncollected. So this has been an ongoing problem that Christine, who's on the call, and I've been working on for the last several months. I posted on the Penrose Facebook group. Her and I got together. We sent a very thorough, formal message to the Vice President of Consumer Experience at the Giant corporate headquarters, and we actually got a response. So we sent saying, we had proposed, GPS wheel locks, and we basically, the short and sweet of it was, we want wheel locks. This should not be the burden of our local Giant food store, who, we're hearing all these reports of everybody, underemployed, understaffed, all these issues that, whether it's grocery chains or whatever other industry, short and sweet, our local employees here should not be having to run around Penrose collecting shopping carts because there's no wheel locks as implemented at every other large chain grocer. So they seem to be positive about implementing the GPS wheel locks. I got a call from Mohammed, who's our local Giant food manager, and said, hey, I actually got a call recently from Giant Landover. They said that you sent a message in. I said, great. So luckily it was received and passed on to Giant Landover in Maryland. So I'm going to be following up with Mohammed this week and see what's going on with that, because we want to get those implemented as soon as possible. I think that's the best course of action, GPS wheel locks. We can't put up barriers because those are an ADA compliance issue. So, and some folks have expressed some concerns about the wheel locks, but quite frankly, I don't think the situation can get worse than it already is. So anything whatsoever that helps keep these carts in the vicinity of Penrose Square, I think would be a big win for the community.
If it helps the cause, when I see people pushing it down Wayne, I do give them the stink eye. And well, also like at Shawnee Apartments, like what is it, like courthouse, like way down there, they got a lot. Like they had a lot. And I called, I was like, just so you know, a lot of carts over here. And when I talked to the manager, she was very upset. And the carts were gone like in the next couple of days. And I wouldn't have called if it was like one, but it was like
right.
A lot.
It's just everywhere. And look, my thing is like, I'm not going to get like crazy if a houseless person needs one to put their personal effects in and items, on a rainy night or it's snowing or, God forbid. But this is not just one or two carts. This is, as you said,
it's like
dozens and dozens and dozens. And my whole thing is like, as I keep reiterating, I'm just baffled that the Giant corporate office in Landover, Maryland that reached out has yet to do anything about this. You guys are losing inventory, that these carts cost money, and you're creating a public nuisance and a health hazard. As Christine, you got some amazing pictures of these. Not amazing is probably not the right word. Disgusting, horrendous pictures of these being used to just people just haul whatever. There was like dog waste in there, like dog bags and trash and filth. And it's disgusting. And they're going to just dump that to the side and wipe them down with maybe a Lysol thing and put them back if they even get the cart back to the station. So yeah, I've been rambling, but we're going to get these fixed.
Well, it is a nice segue to point number 3.
Yes, dog bag dispensers. So yes, I have, and I wrote Jen again about the possibility of getting some dog bag dispensers over at Penrose Park. He said that something we can probably do. He's following up with them. So again, I just need him to, hey, Ben, little nice nudge if you sent that to the Parks and Rec and, all that. So the thing is, Heather, I'm sure you've probably seen some of the dog, and others have seen the dog bag dispensers over at Columbia Crossing apartment complex, those little green, self-standing with the dog bag dispensers and the adjacent, trash can under it. Those are great. And I looked into those. Those are owned by the property management at Columbia Crossing. So those are not Department of Parks and Rec whatsoever. Like at Towers Park, me and my family, we personally bring used trash bags and stuff them in that mailbox there. We don't even have any dog bag dispensers at any of our publicly funded dog parks throughout the county, to my knowledge. So,
yeah, I'll be honest with you, as a Lola owner, I honestly feel like if you are the kind of person that does not pick up after your dog, then a station will not help your cause.
Right. You're just going to be late.
Like for me, this station, I mean, I always have 2 bags, just in case.
Mhm.
But the station would be for me like a place to throw it away or like an emergency bag grab. I think if it's just like in your nature to not pick it up, you're not going to pick it up. And until people get like fined or like publicly shamed, I think that would be the best change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or the
I walk
best.
through Penrose Park every evening, and but I certainly want to at least make it, an easier task for those who want to do the right thing but may not have this, dog bag or something on them at the time to do the right thing and have to leave it there. So
I do wonder.
I definitely in tandem putting some big signage up there, like please pick up after your dog. And I'll have to look into what fines, if anything, are current when it comes to not picking up after your pet.
Okay, so
I wonder though if most of those like dog bag stations and stuff like that, they're this dark green that kind of tends to blend into the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there are models that are more of a bright like orange or yellow or blue.
Idea.
Yeah, just because then there would be this more attention. And I know we want to like disguise the poop and the poop containers and stuff, but like if there was a little bit more attention or like obviousness to these stands, then it would just be part of this environment where like, of course you throw away, you pick up after your dog. The stand is right there. You can see it. It's bright yellow. It might be like a fun playground color or something like that. I don't know if those models are available. But
I don't know if they exist. Like I don't have never seen a different color besides green.
Mm-hmm.
But
and you're totally right, especially with the them being not in an urban area. I mean, suburban is but they're going to be next to trees and foliage on all sides of Penrose Park, and they're going to blend in depending upon which direction you're looking. If you're looking towards the forestry behind, you're not going to see it. So that's a fantastic idea, and I'll certainly relay that to Ben to see if we can if the county's willing to do anything about this, put them up. So, if the county's not willing to budge on getting this set up, I think at the very least we can do with our current funding, we have close to $4 grand in our coffers for Penrose. And I had said, could we potentially maybe put up something in the window there on the message board and some signage with dog bags, or maybe, go ahead and have the county put up the signage. We will, if they will give us any money, we'll fork over the funds for the actual station itself. And I can even personally keep that as, filled up as possible. I don't think those are going to be blown through because it's a kids park. It's not a kids park with dog park area like Towers Park. So I think keeping them up weekly, I think that'll be good. So yeah, I'm working on that as well. So.
Instead of a free little library, a free little poop bag.
A little dog bag. Dispenser with trash can. No, I love it. That's what we need. You're absolutely right. So I'll keep everybody posted on that front. So recently, jumping into something a bit more nitty gritty, we had a developer meeting with Insight Property Group regarding the Elliott and their form-based code submissions going before the board. So I'll be posting a link to that as well. So that was recorded, so everybody can check that out. And that was another fantastic meeting. It was sort of a lot of some of the same topics that were discussed that I've seen on previous meetings, but I'm very passionate and make sure that we get our entire membership that if they have questions as it pertains to this development, they can forward them to me. There's still going to be more time to deliberate all these things before it goes to the board. So it's not exactly speak now forever hold your peace, as we're going to be going, deliberating this for, weeks to come. So I'll be
And
posting.
that's at the
that.
Boston Market shopping center?
So that's the other one. That I'm trying to remember the name of that. This is where the CVS leading up to South Wall Street Drive is.
All right.
So CVS is going to be in a two. So for those who haven't seen the plan, CVS is going to be in a trailer, and they're staying. Two businesses out of the current stretch of businesses are going to be staying. I don't know which two. So it's going to be like 4 stories, 3-level underground parking garage. I forget the square footage of everything. It's just going to be massive. And it's going to go from the CVS all the way up to where like Acme Pie is with those, 1-story Art Deco buildings. None of those are going to be impacted. But basically, yeah, to where the end of the Attila's or the Fillmore parking lot is there, that's going to be all that's gone. And then those first story Art Deco buildings are going to be retained. So we're getting, 472 units or something. Or, no, maybe I got my numbers wrong. Yeah, 247 units, excuse me. Yeah, 247 apartment complexes or units. Those are going to be anywhere between studio apartments to 3-bedroom and a den, each of which are going to have their own underground parking plot for residents and tenants. And I forget the numbers on how many extra and additional are going to be reserved for the public, but there will be space for the public to park there as needed, which is great. And
You know who the developer is?
Huge, yes, that is Insight Property Group, and they're partnering, so it's co-developed with Fillmore Group LLC or whatever they are. But this is this video specifically was with Insight Property Group. So if you have questions and concerns, they're the ones I can forward anything to and get you a solid response in a timely manner for. So I'll be posting that video on our Facebook as well and disseminating that through email. So then they go through all the blueprints, all the planning, every street, and how everything's going to be, rearranged, which is great. So other than that, I just wanted to, highlight before we go 2 very unfortunate events in the community and how folks can chip in to help with these 2 great GoFundMe efforts. So as folks have seen, this was back, several days ago. It's on the 13th, or published on the 12th. I see up chief right down the street from us at 2405 was robbed, and I've seen this. I was talking to the owner. He sent me the security camera footage. It's just awful. I've been in close contact with him. He's the total sweetheart. Mr. Asabi. This is a guy that's done so much for the community, helping feed Afghan refugees. You name it, he's been a pillar of the community, and it's absolutely just appalling to see. And this is not the first time. I've heard reports that this has happened numerous times. This is the 2nd or 3rd time that this has happened.
It's all during the pandemic too. I think people are just like extra crimey during the pandemic.
Yep, absolutely. And they just walked in. I can't even remember from the security, but I don't think they were wearing a mask or anything. That would have given it away. They just all of a sudden, it was a gentleman and maybe his girlfriend or some his crime accomplice, and they just bashed that front display with those expensive glasses and just.
It was a lot of people, like way more than I would be comfortable with trying to block the door. When Mary got in front of the door, I was like, girl.
Yeah.
I think they let one person in, and then that person let the rest of them in.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
There is an NBC,
really
I think it's an NBC News video of the incident from the security cameras.
Yeah.
That hurt my feelings. Like, I get my glasses there.
Yeah.
It's just not cool to see this stuff happen in your neighborhood.
I know, it's crap.
It's awful. So there's a GoFundMe going around, and I don't know this final thing. Here it is. Yes. So this was as I think late last night when I was putting this together. We've raised the community as a whole, and our association is not personally affiliated with this. I've reached out to Mr. Wahid, and I've shared this on numerous platforms all across social media. So I'm really pleased to see that we've raised close to 10K of that 15K goal and ongoing. So that's great. And please donate if you can. 5, 10, 15 bucks goes a long way. If it's all of us, 7,300 plus Penrosians coming together for that. So that's great. And he's super appreciative. So that's great. So I'll probably go and visit him this week as I can and stop in and see what's going on. I'm just heartbroken for him. And some more awful news that we had came to light this month that happened actually this past December. So Danny Kelly was actually one of the next door, and his family lived next door to Susan Thompson Gaines. And if you're not familiar with her, she's in the neighborhood, and she's been the one putting together all those kindness yard sales and the pantries, and she's just always doing something fantastic in the neighborhood. And we've partnered with her. We've raised, over $500 for Penrose as a whole, and we're planning to do a slew of some really, really cool stuff with her this spring as it warms up a bit. But this gentleman, David Kelly, was her next door neighbor, and she had just found out about it after the fact that he, during a road rage incident, that he was murdered, shot to death in his car with his children in the back. I mean, it's incomparable. I mean, it's absolutely sickening. So Susan and all of us recently, she had posted on the association page. This was the other evening. We all banded together and just wanted to do something for his family that are, were peeking out their window. That God knows how distraught they are right now. So a bunch of us came together and just did this candlelight vigil outside their place. So this is a little picture I took. So it was really nice. Just do something for them. You don't know what to do in these situations, or what can we do at this point, but just to show them that we're here, we care, and that they have a community they can lean on. That's very important. And on the horizon, and we can wrap things up. So we're going to be doing our website update and social media revamp this month. We're going to be working on that, setting a budget and getting things rolling. I have access to our website. I cannot update it. The back end is something I've literally never used in my life before. It's not like Square or Wixbase or any of these traditional web builders. So we're going to get
If
on
it's
top of that.
WordPress, I can look at it and help you.
Yeah, it's definitely not WordPress. I'll have to figure it out. It's something I've literally never heard of, and this was built back in like the early 2000s. And all the board members are wrong, and that needs to be updated. I'm not even on there as president or everything, so we'll get that updated. I'm planning a big spring 2022 membership drive and fundraiser, and of course, as things warm up, I've had a lot of asks to do another Penrose historical walking tour. So that would be great. And a great time to visit some of these great, we can check out the Black History Museum as one of those stops, and some of our great restaurants on the pike. And if you ever have any ideas, feel free to submit them to penrosepres@yahoo.com. Awesome. Yeah, we went a little over tonight. I think appreciate everybody just being cool with us.
That was me and my questions. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So I sent Amy the PowerPoint previously, but we kind of jumped from thing to thing, which is okay. That's all good. We're not super duper formal here. So. Does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns before we head out? Everybody good?
I think I've asked enough questions, so I'm going to save some for next time.
You're good. Okay.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Alex. Good
Thank
meeting.
you so much for joining us. I'm going to go eat. I'm starving.
Thank you.
Awesome. We'll see everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.